Good evening and welcome to the stream. I am Justin Morgan, your host of Computerized Start, and I'd like to welcome Thomas, Alex, Dave. I see they're all on the stream. I see there's a few comments already that have come in that I will have to show because, yes, pizza and coffee are good things. And although there's no pizza in this stream, it's a Pizza Box Mac, just in case anyone got confused by my slightly clickbaity title that I'm, well, not really good at writing clickbait titles. Yes, Dave? Actually, we need to get me up to 68 subs so that I can, because that would be past 64. Oh, had the box backwards. So that I can give away the C64 Mini, which if you haven't seen the video yet, I put a link in the video description. Check that out. It's really easy to enter. There's only a few countries that are prohibited. Although, depending on how much shipping is to your country, you might have to chip in for shipping. But I've got a pretty good bit that I'll pay for shipping, $30. So that might actually get it lots of places. So check out that video. You enter on that video, not this one. Or yes, as Dave was saying, or 128 subs. Because in my giveaway video, I did post a challenge. If you can give a shout out to this channel and get me up to 128 subs before the end of Marcintosh 2022, then I will give away the No Boot Mac LC. And I even have that in the video that shows what the configuration of it is right now. Although I have borrowed its power supply. But I will put that back. So don't worry. And as you know, in previous streams, I did recap this power supply. I recapped the LC's logic board. I have a blue SCSI in it. I've also borrowed the blue SCSI because I need to do a blue SCSI assembly stream sometime. So yes, so how you enter, you go down to the link in the video description. If I forgot to put it there, then I will have to update that. So yes, time is ticking. Because I know Thomas will have to go to work soon. He probably at least wants to see some of my latest acquisition. And wow, these are a little heavier than I thought. Oh, and I forgot to bring the keyboard in here. Anyways, yes, I have a new Pizza Box Mac. This one is a Mac LC2 that I will have to somehow get the photos onto the stream. They're on my iPhone. I'll show you because I'll have to show you how badly this thing was packed. Yeah, I'm kind of annoyed that the nuts for the video port are missing. Probably someone pulled them off with the monitor cable and, well, didn't think to include them. But yes, this was horribly packed. It was in a box. It had some foam on the sides to keep it from moving side to side. The keyboard that I got with this was sitting right on top of the Mac, and it had one layer of bubble wrap on all sides. So, yeah. There's no broken plastic on this Mac. It's got a lovely blue mark on the bottom, but that's a blue crayon mark or something. Yeah, I do like this effect. So it is very much like a, basic airwave talk show. In fact, I do Toastmasters meetings once a week. I come home for them because we're meeting virtually, and it's easier to join the meeting virtually from home than at work. But yeah, I use this for Toastmasters too. And yeah, I'm setting up a kind of a podcasting, video podcasting, or I guess YouTube for scripted videos. I'm setting something up, but for live streams, I just kind of like doing this. Unless I'm going down to the basement, which I am going to actually go down to the basement so we can take a look at this and take a look at the keyboard, which is a Key Tronic MacPro Plus keyboard. Yes, they should be, because this computer, I think, was released in '91. So, yes, the Key Tronic MacPro Plus keyboard, I believe, is actually compatible with a Mac Plus. Although I don't have a Mac Plus to test that theory, but there is an RJ11 jack on the keyboard, along with 2 ADB ports. And I paid $66 plus tax, because there was free shipping. Yeah, actually, okay. Yeah, I think this was 91. I do believe the 386 was out. So, anyways, I know you all want to see the condition of the insides of this thing. And I'm going to plug it in. But I'm going to go down to the bench because I've got the overhead rig set up. We'll take a look at the insides of this, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to go to be right back so that I can walk downstairs. So I'll see you in a minute. Oops. Okay, let's try that again. All right, and I am now in the basement, and it is time to pop open the lid. And the first thing that all of our eyes should be immediately drawn to wow, I almost couldn't have framed that better on a whim. That, my friends, is a Maxell battery. Well, if I can... Come on. All right. Yes. Yeah, there's an IBM drive in it too. I don't know how often Apple used the IBM drives and not the Quantum, but yeah, it's an IBM 80 megabyte. And it's got the Apple logo on it too, so. But this Maxell battery has a date of August 1992. And somehow, it must be like one of the few Maxell batteries that did not explode in the past 30 years. That is amazing. I noticed earlier today someone posted on the Low End Mac Facebook group that they were looking for Maxell batteries. And if it wasn't for the fact that this would be a pain to ship, even though it's dead. Oh, where's my... I don't know where my voltmeter is. I think we'll have to measure the voltage of that battery to see if there's any juice in it. Yeah, I know. But if I've got stuff sitting on top of my toolbox. Let me see if I can get my voltmeter out. I think for scientific reasons, we need to see. I'm copying Adrian Black. I think he started measuring the... I think it's Adrian. Or was it maybe the EEV blog guy? One of the two of them was pulling batteries out of things and saying that we had to know. So, alright. This Maxell battery... Negative 0.6 volts. All right. Negative 0.7 volts. Yeah. That's enough to run the clock, right? Oh. That's weird. Okay. Yeah, that's dead. All right. That concludes our science moment. We are not going to conduct the follow-on experiment of seeing what happens if you leave that battery in the Mac. All right, so this is a Macintosh LC2. The first things I'll note, it has the stock 4 megabytes of memory on board. There was nothing in the SIM sockets. I only popped this open when I saw the small box and realized there wasn't much room in it, just to make sure that it wasn't a pile of plastic that I needed to immediately report to eBay. We've got a VRAM SIM. Yeah, the most capacitor model. I hope that means I'm ordering enough capacitors. Alright, so we have a VRAM SIM. I guess I'll have to zoom in. So this is part number 820-0605-A. And I believe that means this is the 512 megabyte VRAM SIM. So I won't have to order an upgrade if that is correct. I'll have to add some RAM to this. Yes. Yes, it has the pins for an FPU socket, and I actually do have... I may do that. I'll have to get... I've got some copper heatsink somewhere if I can find them. But yeah, I did notice on the eBay auction description that it had the FPU pads, and I actually already have from Mauser some 68-pin PLCC sockets. So that is one of the things I'm going to do, is go ahead and install a socket for an FPU. And I am going towards the worst looking part of the board. This is the most capacitor model, and the area of the board that has the most capacitors on the most capacitor model does not disappoint. There is dust, and under that dust is electrolyte. Yeah. Well, that would run faster than if I tried to run Windows 95 in an emulator on this Mac. Okay, now that would just be plain ridiculous. Sign me up. Actually, I don't think I've got time for that this month. I'd start booting Windows 95 now, and assuming the computer didn't melt down it'd probably finish booting next Marcintosh. So anyways, we definitely have a lot of electrolyte in this area of the board. I'm kind of a little worried about the processor, but maybe that's just dust. It'll probably be fine. But yeah, definitely going to need a recap. I'm still going to try to power this up to see if it powers up, because it might power up. Of course, the power supply might be dead too. So there's our SCSI controller, other miscellaneous chips. The, whatever that chip is. Yep, and these capacitors by the power supply, I believe, have also leaked. Just by looking at the haziness around the board. So, yep, definitely going to need a recap. The fan and the speaker did come dislodged in shipping. Yeah, and re-RAM. I'll have to get some RAM for it, because 4 megabytes of RAM is not a lot, although that's better than the LC's built-in RAM of 2 megabytes. But unfortunately, that means to max this Mac out, I'll have to get 2 4 megabyte SIMs, and this Mac will not use the upper 2 megabytes. Because Apple created the LC2 by starting with the design for the LC and slapping an 030 processor on it. Although it has a somewhat different layout, but the bus, I guess the main controller chip, whatever Apple called it, which I believe is this chip, I bet if I pulled my LC motherboard out and, oh, okay. Yeah, some 386s can take 16. And yes, I am totally suspecting this power supply will need a recap. So, that's the Mac. And I guess, though, I'm hoping it survived shipping, although given the small amount of packing that there was, and the fact that the speaker and fan came dislodged, I'm not holding out hope. But anyways, yeah, this has an IBM. I don't know how often Apple used IBM drives, but I was surprised. So maybe it's not a a Desk Star. So maybe it might work. Maybe these drives are more reliable than I give them credit for. But it's an IBM 80 megabyte. Apple logo. So actually, I was kind of wondering if this LC2 might be a maybe the upgraded spec, since it has the 512 megabyte VRAM SIM and an 80 megabyte hard drive. Although maybe they started at 80. Anyways, yes, I will keep the drive. In fact, actually, on my shelf back there, I still have the quantum hard drive that was in my LC. So I'm going to hold on to it. I know Bruce did give me some sage advice about that LC hard drive. So maybe remind us about that again, Bruce?
Justin, just a shout out. Can I tell you that quantum in your LC is living on borrowed time? Enjoy it while it lasts.
So, yes, it still works. Don't know how much longer it'll work, but I still have it. So that is the LC2. But I guess the thing that really caught my eye on the auction, more so than the LC and the fact that it wasn't battery bombed, that was certainly a plus. But no pun intended. This was also a plus. Actually, I quite intended that pun. This is a MacPro Plus keyboard by Key Tronic. It seems to be in decent shape. Although there might be some... I can't tell if there's any like little bits loose in it. It feels really, really solid. I don't know if it's mechanical. It does feel like a membrane keyboard. Okay. It does appear as if the spacebar took a... Oh, maybe the spacebar just needs lubricated. Or maybe something... Okay, the spacebar appears to be broken. It's pushed in. So I guess I'll have some work to do to get this working. I'll probably have to remove the keys. Maybe the... I don't know that that was shipping damage. Because I'll definitely want to fix this because that right there tells me that this is a very special keyboard indeed. Because there's ADB and there's the other ADB. I know it's hard to see, but that appears to be where you would plug in the plus. So, yeah, I think this is a very special keyboard. This was probably worth the 60. If I can get it working, this was probably worth the 66 bucks I paid for this. It was made in the USA too. Nice. They don't make them like they used to. So this certainly feels like a solid enough keyboard that... Oh, and there's a little cover under the bottom. I wonder if I dare pop it open, see what's under the... I'm going to tempt fate, and I'm going to pop the... Oh! I may have to pull the manual up. There is... there's a bank of dip switches in the bottom. So, yeah, this is a really special keyboard. I will definitely have to get it working. But since the spacebar seems to be pressed down, I probably won't be able to test it tonight. Unless I, like, put something in it to undepress the keyboard. But yeah, this is a really nice keyboard. This was probably worth the 66 bucks. I'm not necessarily going to give the seller positive feedback because that would encourage them to package their items horribly again. I may just not leave them feedback. Or I'll give them neutral feedback. Alright, but anyways, I have a scaler, a brand new scaler. I bought it after Steve published his video on scalers. And I don't think I can plug this. Wow. I don't know what size cable Apple was expecting you to plug in for an audio jack, but a standard sized audio jack will not go in these plus LCs. So yeah, that's fun. All right, well, I'm going to have to snag the HDMI cable from my camcorder to plug into my scaler. I'll have to order another cable, so we're going to lose the table cam. Oh, wait a minute. That's weird. Okay, I may not be able to plug this in down here. That's a micro HDMI cable. I forgot what the camcorder used. Okay. Somewhere I have... Oh, I probably don't have it down here. Alright. Well, we can at least see if the LC bongs... I'm going to turn on my smoke absorber in case it goes unhappy. Alright, plugging it in. Powering it on. And oh, I didn't have it plugged in all the way. That appears to be a big fat nothing. Yeah. Yeah, seriously. This is just pathetic. Well, at least this one's actually uses a normal plug. I might replace it with a Noctua fan or something. Yeah. Okay, I heard some noise from the power supply. Yeah, well, I'll have to take this upstairs and swap power supplies. Because this power supply here is dead. Oh, well, actually, well, not only is this power supply dead, but one of the two ground connectors just broke off. Someone's, yeah, I heard something, make like a arcing noise in the, yeah, capacitor might have shorted. I don't think it didn't, like, pop. I don't smell anything, but one of the two commons was not making contact. It just, actually, that looks green. It looks like something's gotten on this contact. So, yeah. Well, actually, the pin, the rest of the pin is actually still in there. I think you can, if you can kind of see the fact there's shiny metal there, the light gleaming off of it. So the connector just snapped in half. So I'll have to somehow fix that. I might actually have to order wire and I may have to order wire and replace that wire. Because these wires are so short, I don't think I can strip it and recrimp a new pin on it without putting too much strain on it. So I may have to replace that wire. But that's fine. I guess I wanted a challenge. So, well, here's the challenge. So that is the LC2. Yeah, I've got another power supply. I'll take it upstairs because I've got an HDMI. I can actually plug the HDMI cable in upstairs. I brought it down here to try to power it up the first time because I wanted to make sure that if I was going to power it up the first time and something was going to pop, I wanted it to happen. I guess I would rather the basement smell like smoke than my office. How's that? So, oh, Thomas, are you talking about these LC power connectors are hard to come by? I did, for what it's worth, I did buy new PRAM batteries. Ah, alright, well, I may Well, I may have a challenge to fix that power supply then. So, I mean, maybe I can... I mean, maybe there's a way to extract the pin and solder this back on, but I doubt that would be strong enough. Maybe I can find a... Yeah, I'll have to... I'll upload some photos to my Instagram. I got quite the scare when I saw the Mauser box on my porch. So I ordered a bunch of components. So these are the components to recap my 2CI logic board. I just realized I needed more time tonight than I have available to recap that. So I'll be recapping that. I think I'm going to do that Monday night. But, so I've got surface mount caps. I've got axial caps. So I've got the parts to recap the LC, or not the 2CI logic board. And I'd also I went ahead and ordered a couple PRAM batteries because anytime you order these, the order has to go ground. So I figure, well, I'll just go ahead and order those. Because I also ordered a gallon of aqueous flux remover for my ultrasonic cleaner. Because I was like, well, I think that's got to go ground too. So I might as well just place an order that I'm okay with it going ground. Well, I think UPS dropped the box this morning from a height. Maybe it was yesterday. I don't think it was a couple days ago. I think it was within the past 24 hours. But anyways, I think they dropped the box because when I saw the picture on my video doorbell of the Mauser box, the one end of the box was drenched. And it was the box sitting on top of a bunch of other packages. So, anyway, I was afraid that I had a sopping wet box that had sopping wet components, including lithium metal batteries, that was going to be sopping wet. So, fortunately, Mauser shipped all the parts in a inner box. So it was in this box, and this box was completely dry. Somehow, it did not. So none of that was even, because this was flux remover. It was slarmy gross. It smelled like ammonia. Yeah, no, they are very rough on packages. Although I don't know the postal services is any more gentle. But anyway, yeah, the bottle of flux remover is, yeah, it's sitting in my garage, and I'm waiting for Mauser to get back to me because they shipped it there. It was in an inner box too, and they wrapped that in plastic, and so the box that the flux remover bottle's in is just drenched in the wrapped in plastic, but there's a hole in the plastic, and enough of flux remover leaked out to get the entire end of the Mauser box wet. Yeah, I'd already warned my team at work that I was going to have to come home and set the packages inside when they arrived. Let's just say that when I saw what I saw on my video doorbell, I sent the quickest email out of like, okay, I got to go now and take care of this. Because I did not want that flux remover leaking all over everything that was under it. Because I wasn't quite sure what was under it. So, hi Adam, and hi Jeremy. Welcome to the stream. I'm about to actually go back upstairs so I can actually see if this LC2 will boot. But yeah, luckily this came postal service, and even though there was one layer of bubble wrap, and I will post the photo to Instagram because I don't have a quick way to get the photos from my phone to StreamYard. Actually, wait a minute. I bet I can. Well, I'll do that upstairs because it's a little cool down in the basement. So I will go upstairs and we'll try to see if this LC2 will boot. And if it will, I'll probably plug in the Blue SCSI from my LC on it, and we'll at least see if it'll boot all the way up to the desktop. So, yeah. All right, so I will see you all in a few. And I'll next appear back upstairs. And I am back. Let's see, and I'm going to... Come on. No, I don't want that. There we go. Yeah. All right. And I have plugged in the LC2. I've got a keyboard attached. I've got the scaler attached, which is why you see a void into the abyss at the moment. And I am going to flip the power switch. No, it's not fixed yet, Jay. In fact, the power supply from this LC2 is actually worse off than I'd hoped. One of the wires broke off of the connector. So this is actually the power supply from my LC. That IBM hard drive is very dead. Yeah, it's dead as a doornail. The only thing spinning is the fan. I mean, that IBM hard drive didn't even make any sounds like it was even attempting to spin up. Yes, power was plugged into the drive. Yeah, it's gone. It has power. It had SCSI. It didn't even spin up. So I have attached a blue SCSI. Yeah, I tried smacking it. Nothing. I'll actually pull it out of the case and try some percussive maintenance on it outside the case. Yeah, I'll try that. I want to pull it out of the drive so that I can actually smack it on the side. So the eye hammer, yes, I have a big eye hammer I will try on it. Okay, I might need to tweak the scalar settings somewhat because of course, that's the moire pattern on that background, which is not gray, but it's like the black and white pixels. If I change the wallpaper, it looks better. But yeah, this is the blue SCSI from the LC. So at least the Mac, I have sound. So I heard the chime from the speaker. So at least that means the sound chip isn't dead, which is good. And boots. And it sees the 4 megabytes of memory, which is really good. And hopefully, if I go to the monitor's control panel, yep, there we go, 256 colors, and because it's running at 640 by 480, so that is definitely the 512 megabyte VRAM sim in it. So yeah. So at least the good thing is I'll definitely be able to get the LC2 motherboard recap. I think I'll be able to successfully recap that. I guess I just need to make sure that there aren't any caps on that board that aren't on the recapping guide, because there are a lot of caps on that board. The power supply is going to be a bit of a challenge because the connector, Thomas says the connector is hard to come by. I'm wondering if maybe I can find a different connector with the same pin pitch that I could use to fix it. Or maybe I'll find a power supply or maybe I'll find another power supply and just punt the issue down the road. So yeah, that'll be something I'll have to fix. But I guess the other thing is the power supply is an Aztec power supply that was in this LC2. And I guess I'll also have to double check that there's not any different capacitors in the Aztec power supply compared to the TDK one. It's possible, though, that maybe Apple had both power supply vendors build the same power supply, so maybe they're the same. So yeah, I may just have to fix the connector somehow. Maybe I can find a pin that will work good enough. So yeah, I like that background too. It also doesn't cause that moire pattern on the screen with the scalar. But yeah, this is actually my new to me at Lona scalar. After Steve posted his video on scalars, I went on eBay and I found the AT line, because I think he's got an AT line Pro 4. and it was a common pin, one of the two black wires. I think that's common. So yeah, it just in fact, I think it was broken before I pulled the connector because yeah, I don't have the power supply pin out in front of me. But anyways, so I found an AT-Line Pro 5 on eBay. I think the only difference between it and the one Steve has is this one actually has 2 HDMI out ports. I will try it without that ground, Adam, because if it works with just the one, then that would be good. I guess it's also possible I might be able to fix it if I can extract the rest of the pin. Maybe I might be able to solder it together very carefully. I mean, you'd have to be super careful removing the connector, but maybe I might be able to fix it somehow. But I'll recap the power supply, because worst comes to worst, I'll find an entirely new connector that has the same pin pitch and replace the connector on the logic board and on the power supply. So, or I'll figure out what the pins are, because that's the thing, if I can get replacement pins, then that's easy. I'll probably have to replace the wire, but I'll replace the wire and put a new pin on it. So if anyone knows what the pin style is, I mean, it looks awfully familiar. I might be able to figure it out if I scratch my head enough. But yeah, I'll get it fixed. But I'll definitely recap the power supply, test it with just the one wire. If I can get replacement pins, I'll get it working somehow, because those power supplies are. Unfortunately, I've seen enough LCs on eBay to realize that there are a lot of LCs that make it on eBay that don't even have a power supply. So yeah, or if I can find a similar, yeah, that's a good idea, Adam. Because luckily there is, well, if I can find the same connector with, yeah, probably more connections, because I can always maybe cut the extra off. There's not a lot of room beside that connector because of where some of the caps are. But yeah, that is a good idea. I'll find a way to get that power supply working, because there are a lot of LCs and LC2s and LC3s that that don't have a power supply. Of course, I know there's a lot of LCs and LC2s and LC3s I see make it on eBay that practically don't have a logic board either, because the Maxell battery went. So yeah, LC475. Yeah, there's a lot of those pizza box style Macs. They all use the same power supply, and they make it on eBay, and it's like a potluck as to what shows up on eBay. I mean, I think there is a power supply listed on eBay right now that's just a power supply, but they wanted an awful lot for what is probably a non-recapped power supply that's most certainly going to need recapped. The 605, okay. So yeah, I'll keep an eye out if I can find something where I can scavenge the connector, because if I can find something that's not repairable and I can steal the connector, because I've seen some pretty gnarly Macs show up where I know there's one on eBay right now where the Maxell went off and it ran straight into the processor and kept on going into the sound chip, because I know Joe's run across the auction too, because I think he's looking for a sound chip to repair a Mac, and we've both seen this LC, and it's just the logic board is probably not repairable, because just all the corrosion from the battery. The processor's probably toast. The sound chip's probably toast. Those sound chips are hard to come by. Although if I could run into something like that and the connector for the power supply's fine, then that might be an option for scavenging a connector. So, but anyways, so this is the LC2 that I bought, mainly for the keyboard. And the keyboard seems to be in decent shape, although the spacebar is stuck. Like it needs lubricated, but I'm wondering if the springs are I'm wondering if something sat on the spacebar for a long time and maybe the springs are deformed. So I may have to find replacement springs for it. Other than that, though, I think all the other keys at least seem to work. I don't feel any other keys that are stuck. So hopefully if I can get I would plug this keyboard in and try it out, but with the spacebar stuck, I know that the Mac is just going to protest because the spacebar is stuck down. So, and I need to go find my key puller so I can pull the keys around the spacebar and so I can actually see how the spacebar is attached. So that'll be for another stream. And I think I'm now realizing that waiting to do the 2CI for another day is probably a good idea. But I did got the sockets for the FPU. So I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah, I also have the parts to recap the power supply here in front of me, or at least recap the TDK power supply. I'll have to check and make sure that the Aztec one doesn't have any different caps. But I went ahead and ordered the more of the caps I used for the last LC power supply, because these caps here, the 1000 microfarad 10 volt ones, because I just wanted to order the same ones I had. Mauser had 7 in stock. So that's why I went ahead and ordered caps before I had the LC to inspect it. For $30. Yeah, that's not bad. In fact, I might I might actually just break down and buy another LC power supply just so I have a spare one, because there is something special about these pizza box Macs. Maybe it's just because they're small and you can easily fit a couple on a shelf. Maybe it's because they don't break your back when you try to pull them off the shelf. So, anyways, I guess I'll go ahead and shut off the Mac, because I just wanted to inspect its current condition. Because that's a good thing to do before you recap. Also, I'm not sure if anyone noticed. Maybe Jay noticed because he didn't complain. But I actually upgraded my StreamYard. So I'm streaming at 1080p. I'm hoping it worked. Although I've got some webcam issues here to work out because I've got my virtual webcam in OBS cropped, and this is only a 1080p webcam. So I'm actually upscaling a smaller resolution camera when I'm in this view. But yeah, other than that, that is good to know that I can stream at 1080p with StreamYard. And actually, I did it just in time for them to add the feature, and I actually used it. But they recently added a feature where for your first account, I guess the main account you sign in as, you can add an extra camera. So that's that capture from the scaler. I actually used the add a camera feature so that I could have myself and the scaler as two cameras on the one computer. So thank you, StreamYard. That is a great addition. Unfortunately, you can only add an extra camera for the primary broadcaster or whatever their phrase is. But that was actually really great because, and also the really nice thing is it's only the camera view, and my capture card looks like a camera to Firefox. So I didn't have to worry about getting any echoes because it's just adding a video view, which made it really easy to share the screen. Now, of course, the way I broadcast downstairs, if anyone's wondering, I've got it connected to StreamYard on the computer downstairs. So for that, I was using OBS to switch between views because I used the second camera feature for upstairs because that made it easier. But yes, that is the LC2. It's kind of a bonus item I bought for Marcintosh. Also, I mean, really, I bought it because it was $66 free shipping, although it was packed horribly. I guess I got what I paid for. But it had this really cool keyboard that appears to be Mac Plus compatible. Not that I have a Mac Plus right now, or probably will work with a 128 or 512. So that's really great. Which is why when I saw that it was buy it now and they only wanted $66, I risked it. Fortunately, the Postal Service did not. Fortunately, the Postal Service did not drop the box, because if they did, there would have probably been broken plastic and sadness, because I am really not kidding. And in fact, actually, let me see if I can upload the photo to StreamYard from my phone, which I guess means I'm going to have to log into StreamYard from my phone. Yeah, that Key Tronic keyboard is actually, for it not being a mechanical keyboard, it is unusually heavy. I'll put it that way, because it is, because I think it's just a membrane keyboard, because it certainly doesn't have a satisfying key click, but it is heavy. And maybe that's how it managed to survive shipping, because I'm logging into StreamYard now from my phone so I can upload the photos I took of the packaging. And when you see it, you'll probably realize how lucky I am to have received the LC in this condition. Although, quite honestly, the reason why the hard drive's dead may be because of the stellar packaging of the eBay seller. But I guess I got what I paid for, since I paid $0 for shipping. Quite honestly, it looks like the seller minimized shipping costs. They were probably thinking, oh, he bought it for parts. It doesn't matter how badly I ship it. And of course, yes, we care. Even when we're buying parts machines, we care. Oh. Oh, that's right. You know, this is really annoying. Yes, on I forgot. On iOS, you have to log into StreamYard from Safari. I wish StreamYard would let you would let you like connect to the studio so you can upload files. The browser has blocked your mic and camera. Well, I just want to join without mic and camera because I want to upload photos. Yeah, I've got a slight problem. Okay, I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to upload photos into StreamYard, but I've ran into two problems there. The first was that I need to plug some headphones into my iPhone next time I try to upload photos with my iPhone while I'm live, because apparently you can't turn off the live replay of the live broadcast. So, and it was going out the speaker. I guess I could have turned the volume down. I don't know why I thought of that. Okay, well, that problem's fixed now. The other problem is I don't see where you upload photos into StreamYard, and I sure thought you could. Although maybe StreamYard doesn't let you upload photos. Maybe it only lets you upload videos. Maybe if one of the StreamYard experts that are in the chat could maybe clarify. Do you upload it as a video? Well, that's no. Oh, you upload them as overlay. Okay. There we go. Ah, all right. Well, then I will. Excellent. So here we go. This is. Oh, well, I'm uploading them from my phone. I'm, though, going to then show them from my computer. All right. So, anyways, this is how the LC2 arrived. I have seriously, all I did was open the box. Yeah, that is a single layer of, it's like a bubble wrap bag. The keyboard's just sitting on the computer. There's foam to keep it moving side to side. That is, well, I guess that's about the same view. Anyways, the other fun I had was I was talking about the Mauser order. Well, yeah, that's the Mauser box. And notice that box there on that's behind the Mauser box. Yeah, the UPS guy really read that bright green label really well. So it also had liquid in it, and fortunately, though, the liquid had not leaked. But Yeah, I got extremely lucky because by all accounts, the Postal Service should have demolished that Mac LC2 and that keyboard. Yeah, also, Mauser used way too big of a box because, let me see here, because actually the bottle of ultrasonic fluid that leaked, that's how big the inner box was. And that box is just that's inside. That is a box of Ketronik's aqueous flux remover that at least a third of it has leaked out because the weight on the box says 11 pounds. And that box is no way weighing 11 pounds. It was not weighing 11 pounds when I picked it up to deal with it. It was weighing probably 7 or 8 pounds. I'm estimating that at least a third of that bottle leaked out, if not half of it, but yeah, Mauser used, yes, Mauser did not pack that box correctly. I have contacted them and I sent them a picture. They normally, when they use a box that big, they get away lucky because, or at least for me, because I'm normally just ordering components. And if they use a big box like that, because I've ordered a tube of IC sockets and those get thrown around, well, not much is going to happen. But in this case, they used way too big of a box. UPS dropped it. The bottle obviously hit. Or actually, it's possible maybe UPS didn't drop it. It's possible the cap wasn't screwed on tightly. Although, given how the box that the components were in was dry, I'm kind of wondering I think UPS dropped the box probably this morning and it leaked out while it was in the driver's truck. Because the one thing is, I've had packages coming to me before by UPS that had liquids in them, and somewhere in transit, I get a delivery exception that said something that really was the effect of, your package is leaking. It has been sent back to the seller, or it's been sent back to the shipper. And they aborted delivery and sent it back to the shipper because it was leaking. Okay, well, I bet UPS dropped it then, because if it's got a sonic weld cap, yeah, you're right. Those are sealed really well. So UPS dropped it. There's no, that's definite. They had to have dropped it. That's the only way I could have done that, because you're right. I've not ordered that product before. This is the first time I've ordered it, because I normally get the Elmatech A1, but Amazon's out of Elmatech A1, and I was ordering from Mauser, and I was like, okay, well, let me just get the Ketronik's. Mauser has it in stock. It's a decent price. I'll give it a try when I actually run out of Elmatech A1. I just wanted to make sure I had some more fluid. But yeah, so I'd never bought it before to see how it was sealed, but you're right. Even the Elmatech A1 had I think it had something I had to actually pull off under its cap. Although it's been a while since I opened it. But anyways, yeah, that was very, I actually wanted to order the Branson EC, but the company I was going to order it from stopped carrying it. So I've got to find another place to order it from. Because someone told me they ordered it from Hisco, and Hisco has apparently stopped carrying Branson EC. They carry all the other Branson fluids, or at least they did when I checked, but their product page for Branson EC is gone. Oh, Amazon has it. Okay, I'll give that a try. if I can order Branson EC, then I'll just tell Mauser to refund the flux remover. And I'm hoping they don't want it back, because there is no way I can ship that back to them. It is a mess. But anyways, yeah, that was my adventure today, when I took one look at the video doorbell and just had to like basically tell my team, I got to go home now and set those inside, because there was a problem with one of the boxes. Yeah, I'll find it somewhere, but so yeah, luckily though, the components were fine and those batteries were, because I was actually afraid that the batteries got wet, but luckily they didn't. And yeah, I lucked out on the LC2 as well, because with that one layer of bubble wrap, that by all accounts, that LC2 should have arrived a pile of plastic. So it should have been demolished, but it wasn't. So I should count myself lucky. Now I haven't opened it yet. There's one other thing I have. But so downstairs, for future streams where I need to pull the oscilloscope out, I actually have a new to me oscilloscope. It is definitely not a new oscilloscope. In fact, it is a quite old oscilloscope. But I have a Tektronix TDS 524A scope that they scrapped at work, and I managed to claim it, because they set a bunch of stuff out for employees to take. It is actually, if you've seen the basement shots where I had all those oscilloscopes sitting off to the side, this was actually one of the oscilloscopes that was over there. It's a 500 megahertz. It's a 4-channel scope, and it is a 500 megahertz scope, but the 524 is only 2 of the channels do 500 megahertz. But yes, as Jay is quite correctly pointing out, free is good. So I am definitely not complaining the fact that only 2 channels do 500 megahertz, because that is awesome. Unfortunately, though, they didn't scrap any of the probes, but still, to get a 500 megahertz scope, and it's a digitizing scope, and from like 1991. Yeah, that scope, I don't know how much the company paid for it back in 91, but I bet it was a lot. I mean, probably a huge amount of money, because I think it has the 1 megabyte option in it, which I believe was an option. And yeah, it's a 500 megahertz scope, and even being the 2 channels at 500 megahertz version, yeah, it's that was a deluxe scope back in 91. But the thing is, that is still the feature of this scope still blow many low-end scopes out of the water. Now, granted, it has a CRT in it, so it's not an LCD scope, because I know if you bought a new 500 megahertz scope now, it'd have an LCD screen in it. So this one has a CRT in it, and it's kind of a weird CRT, because I don't know if you've ever seen a DLP projector. If you've been in a conference room with a DLP projector, or maybe have one at home, and if you scan your eyes across it really quickly, you can actually see the color rainbow. Well, this CRT on the scope, if you scan your eyes quickly across it, you actually see the RGB components of it, which is really weird. So it has some odd display in it. But the really cool thing is, though, it has a VGA out. So if I'm ever diagnosing something down on the bench and I need to use the oscilloscope, I no longer have to use the webcam pointed at the screen of the oscilloscope that I keep knocking over and then having to readjust its position And in fact, actually, the camera actually died a couple weeks ago. In fact, I think there's a live stream that there's a live stream where if you at one point, I think I walk around the bench and then you start hearing Windows hot plug, hot remove, hot plug, hot remove, hot plug, hot remove. And it turns out that webcam just randomly died. And oh well. But anyways, so I've got the scope, I've got the VGA out connected. I can actually show what I'm seeing using the capture card in the computer instead of pointing a camera at the screen. So you will actually hopefully see a much nicer representation of the oscilloscope screen, which is why I even bothered to pull the scope out so soon. Now, I did buy some probes. So my only other complaint about the Ketronik scope is it hated the cheap $40 probe I bought off Amazon. I mean, the probe worked, but when I went to go try to calibrate it so it would set the internal the compensation on the channel, instead of detecting it as a 10x probe, it errored out and told me there was 90% error. It's like, a what? No, this probe does not have 90% error. It's a 10x probe. It has the same specs as the expensive tech probe that came with the scope. I mean, it had the same capacitance and all the metrics were the same. So I think the tech scope somehow realized it wasn't a tech brand probe or something, because I found some actual tech. I forget what the model number is, but it's the standard probe that came with that scope. 10x passive probe. I plug it into the scope and I didn't have to do anything. It immediately recognized it was a 10x probe and it automatically compensated all the measurements on the screen. So it was actually showing, so the internal signal that I had it connected to, that's like 0.5 volt peak to peak, 1 kilohertz, it was showing the correct voltage on the screen. It was because it immediately detected it was a 10x probe and was showing the correct values on the screen. I was like, okay, obviously this scope has some form of DRM in it, and it's a 30-year-old scope, and it somehow knew that I didn't have a tech probe, and then somehow liked the tech probe. Oh well. That's fine. I actually got a pretty good deal on the tech probes. So yeah. So I'm hoping the only drawback about that scope is it takes up more room on the bench, but hey, it's got VGA out. If I'm diagnosing something, instead of you trying to see the screen on my newer oscilloscope from a webcam view, I'll just be able to pull up you'll see it from the capture card. It'll be clear and easy to read, especially with StreamYard at 1080p. So yes, Jay, if you're listening, I hope you noticed I upgraded StreamYard. I am actually broadcasting at 1080p. That's definitely worth a like, I think, Jay. I did it for you. Yes, I will keep an eye out for you, Jay. If I find you a good deal on a scope, and by good deal I mean one that I get for free and I can give to you, I will definitely keep you in mind. So, but yeah, so I'm hoping that will be a nice upgrade for when I do need to pull the oscilloscope out. You'll be able to see it, and I can't see what YouTube's doing right now. For all I know, YouTube's on fire because I have StreamYard up. So I see the chat from StreamYard. I don't see what YouTube's doing. I mean, the YouTube data center could be on fire, and until the connection actually goes down, I'm looking at StreamYard. Fortunately, though, that's probably not the case. But I see StreamYard, not YouTube, because StreamYard's chat actually works. unlike when I try to stream from OBS to YouTube directly, that chat doesn't work. Oh, and yes, Jay, I have totally given up on Streamlabs OBS or whatever they're now calling themselves, because the OBS project finally vowed and declared that you shall not any longer put OBS in your name because you are not OBS. I've completely given up on them. I'm not renewing. I have not used them to stream. StreamYard is so much better. In fact, not only have I not used Streamlabs, but I haven't bought anything from Logitech either, because quite honestly, Logitech should have known what their Streamlabs division was doing. That's just not right. So I haven't bought any Logitech stuff either. Maybe it also helps that Elgato has been making some really nice things that are nicer than some of the Logitech things. So anyways, okay, maybe that rant's over. I don't want you to think that I'm another YouTuber. But yeah, the other thing that I've done, so hopefully it'll arrive soon, is I did try to figure out why my multimeter was not communicating over serial. I finally figured out that it must require the proprietary program that the multimeter manufacturer no longer sells, because it definitely was not available for download, and I don't think they even, but they don't sell it anymore. I bought another multimeter that has a serial output that I'll be able to get to work. So I'm also hoping that not only will I be able to show the oscilloscope in a better representation, but I will be able to do something like the Josh over at Micromage, I'm hoping I remembered the name of his channel right, does, and actually has a little thing at the bottom of the screen with the multimeter readout, so that when I'm testing things on the multimeter, that will also be a much better than the webcam pointed at the multimeter that didn't have a backlit screen. So you really saw more of a reflection of everything around it than the numbers. I'll have a little text box in OBS that I can turn on and off if I'm using the multimeter, and you'll just be able to see what I'm reading. So that will be cool. Those are some upgrades I've been trying to do just because when I do some debugging, I want people to be able to see what I'm seeing, especially when I'm getting advice or need advice. Then you can really see what I'm doing, see what I'm seeing, and not be trying to kind of, what's that on your webcam? I can't really see that. So you can look for those soon. But anyways, it was a great that the LC2 survived. I will get it running. I'll take a look at some of those. I'll take a look at, oh yeah, Thomas, I just noticed you, Hisco's showing Branson EC. Maybe that was a glitch on their end, because that was really kind of odd that they stopped carrying Branson EC, but have all of the other Branson products they were carrying. Maybe that was really weird. So I'll check again, because if they have it, then I'm just going to order a bottle of Branson EC. So, but yeah, that'll be good. The LC survived. Oh, that's right. That's where I was getting. So one of the other things I'll be doing at some, it's always on back order. I'll place an order for back order and they'll ship it when they get it. It seems to always be back ordered unless you manage to get your order in like right when they receive it. Okay, yeah, I'll check. But yeah, the other thing I have, the reason why I was talking about the Ketronik scope in the first place, one of the other things I found on eBay is for that Ketronik scope, there was apparently an option for a TV trigger board. And I found someone selling the TV trigger board on eBay, and they only wanted like $10 for it. So I bought it now. It came in today. I haven't opened the box yet. But now the thing is, they pulled it from a Ketronik scope that was malfunctioning. But in the auction, I clearly see they took a screenshot of the tech scope after it ran the self-diagnostic. And their tech scope, yes, I definitely see in the self-diagnostic screen, the scope was definitely malfunctioning because it was failing some of the internal self-tests. However, the self-test for the TV trigger board passed on the screen. So I think there's a good chance that this trigger board I bought actually works. And it was their scope, something else on their scope that was done for. So I know, because actually there is another one for sale on eBay, and that seller wants $500. Now, granted, it'll be a pain in the rear to install because I gotta because it goes onto the bottom, and I'm hoping. And I may have to get some cables because I think there's some ribbon cables that connect this board to one of the other boards. So I may have to try to find some ribbon cables, although I'm hoping those are just generic ribbon cables. But the seller didn't picture there's a special coax cable that connects the TV trigger board to I think the main board. And they didn't picture the coax cable in the auction. And I asked them if they had the coax cable. And I was fully expecting I was going to end up negotiating to have them list it and list it at some ridiculous price so that I can make them the offer of how much they wanted for it. Just so I would be the one that could buy it. But actually, he replied back, I'll put it in the box for you. So he didn't charge me for the coax cable, which is great. So hopefully I'll find this TV trigger board works because I actually have an interesting dilemma about a vintage computer I have that I'd like to be able to answer, and being able to actually plug the video out from this computer into the scope and set the channel, the TV, because you change the mode of the channel to the TV trigger board, and to be able to actually trigger on some part of the TV signal, I think will be really cool. And if this board really does work, I only paid $18 for it with shipping. So I think that'll be really cool to have, to actually look at some things with vintage computers and how they generated signals for TVs. So, and I guess if the board really doesn't work, well, I only paid $18 for it. So I think it'll be really cool. Now I will have to also, I think there's a adapter that I've got to order for the scope so that I can actually plug the TV signal into the channel. But luckily those don't go for very much on eBay because on their own, they're useless. They require you to have the TV trigger board. So I just need to, actually, I think I may have already bought one. So really, I think I'll have $30 in because I think I grabbed one of those adapters for like $13 total because on their own, they're useless. You have to have the TV trigger board. So luckily those go pretty cheap. So for $30, I was willing to gamble that I could actually have the ability to trigger on parts of the NTSC video signal. And that will be really cool. So, and in fact, I may live stream installing that. Although I will admit, I will probably open the scope beforehand so that if I realize that the ribbon cables that I don't know if they're in the scope, if I realize I need to order them, I can at least order them so that we don't have one of the shortest streams where I open the scope and go, oh, I need ribbon cables. Because the other thing is I need to measure the fan in the oscilloscope because the fan is kind of noisy. So I really need to replace the fan that's in it. And I want to measure it, and I'm hoping I can get away with buying a non-Tektronix fan for it. Although I'm half expecting to realize that they've got some fancy schmancy speed monitoring on the fan, and I might have to just lubricate the bearings in that fan and hope that the noise goes away. But anyways, those are some of the things I've done to try to improve my broadcast quality a little. So, and also to maybe kind of further explore some of the things they did for vintage computers. So again, if you haven't checked out the video for the 64 subscriber giveaway, which I've got this, the best prize I could think of that tied into 64 subscribers. Check that video out. Link should be in the description. You enter on that video. It's really easy to enter. Probably want to just make sure you read the rules, because I have to add the official rules because eBay doesn't like it otherwise. So check that out. I can't make you subscribe as part of the contest, but I'll put it this way. If you can enter, but until I reach 64 subscribers, the contest, the drawing will not happen. So I'll put it that way. Yes, no purchase or subscriptions necessary to enter that contest. 1 entry per person. So check that out if you haven't already. Yes, like the video, leave a comment, tell a friend, because I know all of you all watching, or anyone that's watching the replay later, I know you all probably know at least one person that's into vintage computers. So tell a friend, because the more the merrier. I've got plenty of repair videos coming up. LC2, I got the 2CI. And then once we're done with Marcintosh, I even have a couple other computers that will be coming up in a future month. And I guess I will kind of hint one of them. Yes. Well, yes. Well, Jay, I guess your cat is still a cat. I would say it's a good cat, but cats seem to be indifferent. It's probably an indifferent cat. So, well, maybe you can work on convincing your cat that it really should subscribe. You can let your cat know that occasionally there's mice that appear on the screen. It's about the only incentive I can think of for a cat. But yes, I've got some other vintage computers that we'll be exploring in the future. So I hope to see you all next time. With that, I'm going to sign off because I do have to work tomorrow. And it's kind of getting late here. So I do thank you all for watching, whether you're live or you're watching later. And have a good evening, and I hope to see you next time.